So, were you born in Derby?
I was born in Derby a few years ago.
A few years ago?
Let's just say, well, the early 70s.
Yeah. Well, I'm slightly older than you.
Yeah.
And what first got you into music? Did you listen to a song and go, I want to do that? Or was your family musical?
Nope. Family aren't musical at all. Two things, I think. About 16, could have even been 17, but I think it's about 16, so late, about 88. My older sister, she's 4 years older than me, started seeing somebody who then became her husband, who was a guitarist. His name was Ray Buckley.
Oh, right, yeah.
He played in the New Cranes.
Yeah.
So that was, all of a sudden, I now know somebody who can play an instrument. And at the same time, I became somewhat obsessed with the band, you're going to cringe, with the band U2.
All right.
So me suddenly discovering...
Their first album was all right.
I just became very obsessed with U2 at about the same time that someone came into my life that could actually show me, you know, it was easy to show me those first few chords and show me those first few techniques. And within a year, less than a year probably, I'd convinced Simon, who was the drummer in Iris and the Hoods and Super Six, to buy a cheap as chips drum kit, and by about 17, 18 we'd formed the early sort of version of Iris.
Oh, yeah, okay. So were they at the same school, or where did you meet?
Me and Simon went to the same school,
Yeah.
same secondary school, to Benrose. But Bruce, who was in the band for a few years, and the original bass player John, I met at Wilmorton College.
Yeah.
Then John went away to uni, Bruce went away to uni, and Wayne, who was the mainstay, so it was the trio, me, Simon and Wayne in Iris. He joined probably after about after the first demo.
Yeah.
Which would have probably been about 1990 or something like that.
Yeah. Where do you used to rehearse at?
At that time, all over the shop, lots of sort of probably what would look like building sites now. You know, just any old sort of room that would have you. Everything okay?
Yeah.
Just for the people out there, Johnny's looking passionately at the camera for some reason.
Just making sure it's still
I
going.
was just making sure it was okay. But probably a couple of years in, it's probably about 93, 94, when Alienor Records, the sort of French label who started releasing stuff with us, and we started to tour, we got our first sort of residential room where we could just leave our gear, and we would rehearse. I'm not making it up or exaggerating, it would be 5 days a week, minimum 2 hours, sometimes 4 or 5 hours a day. We were quite obsessive.
Yeah.
'Cause everything would be written in that room.
That's why you're so tight then, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether it was a conscious decision. I can't really remember, if I'm honest. But yeah, literally 5 days a week.
So you recorded your first demo, which was called...
Our first proper, the first demo that had 6 songs on it that we sold a couple of hundred at gigs for £1.50 was called, wait for it, this is the really clever bit. So it's our first demo, it was called Demonstrate.
Yeah.
See, clever, you see. There were 6 songs on that.
Unbearably Blues is really good on that, isn't it?
Bruce wrote that.
Yeah.
That was pretty, I mean, chords,
because it sort of
lyrics,
builds, doesn't
vocal.
it?
Yeah. That was one of Bruce's. And a lot of people have at the time pointed that one out as a highlight, much to my annoyance. No, I'm not joking. Happy days.
Sometimes I feel so very sad. I don't think that is particularly bad. I try my best to say what I feel. You say I don't, and you say I'm unreal. What I'm feeling through speech. I know what I mean, but it seems you I can't reach. Sometimes I feel you think.
And within a few months, 6 months maybe, we put a second demo tape out, again, probably Delusions of Grandeur, we called that Business, which I actually misspelt on the
With
cassette
the-
for the first.
It's my favourite song on that.
Which one was your favourite?
Beautiful.
Oh yeah, that is a
Yeah,
lovely song.
that's just one of my favourite lyrics on that. Yeah. At the start. Yeah.
Yes, I know which lyric you mean.
Yeah.
And then a lot of these things are things that I've forgotten.
And they were recorded. Was it all recorded at Space Dome?
No, the first demo Demonstrate was recorded at someone's house in Normanton somewhere. Can't remember which road. I could probably roughly point it out. We were driving past it. They had like a Georgian terrace, and in their back room they'd got some rudimentary recording equipment and a little 1/4-inch tape and all that on some sort of 8-track. That's where we recorded that one. I've actually just dug out. I found about 5 photos from that recording,
Oh, nice.
which we'll put out. Then from there we went. I remember being at a Moving Jelly Brothers gig, and Matt Holmes, the singer, coming to talk to me afterwards. I think at that point Iris had probably done 4 gigs, 5 gigs, 6 gigs, something like that, and we'd been selling those first few tapes. And he said, "Oh, I'm building a little studio," and he did. He built a studio in his garage at his mum and dad's, called the Space Dome, and we recorded that second demo there, and pretty much everything else until the last album.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I open the door for you, follow you outside. Something strange affected me. Another ticket I should buy. Did I like it too much? Do I hate this too much? To make me like some money. I felt like I bought it for you the other day. I felt like I bought it for you, but you didn't anyway.
So how did the Eleanor, is it Eleanor Records? How did they find you?
So, on Business, there's a song called Float, which is quite an ethereal, dreamy song. And obviously everything I'm describing, for those that aren't already painfully aware of this is all pre-internet. You know, the way you got, as an unknown band, the way you got about, you'd send your tape off to record labels in your dream, but you'd also send your tapes off to like what we call fanzines, and they'd be literally photocopied. I know you know, Johnny, but this would be, photocopied like A5 booklets that people had handmade,
Yeah.
and quite often you get like a free tape with them.
Yeah.
And Float had been chosen to be on a compilation on one of these fanzines, and I might be proven wrong because I do get corrected quite a lot by my internet friends at the moment, because they go and fact check me and they go, "I think you'll find it was," which is fine, which is fine. A Greek fanzine called The World of Susie Wong, I think, had that song on it, on their tape. And I remember being at my dad's randomly for Sunday dinner one Sunday, and I think on the tape, because I didn't have a home phone, I was like 20, I just got a little house with Vanessa.
There was no mobiles really, was there?
No, we didn't have a mobile.
It was either a home phone or a pigeon.
Yeah, exactly. So my dad's phone number was on the tape. So the phone went, and my dad just went, "There's some strange French woman on the phone for you," and I'm not making this up. Answered the phone, and it was a lady called Agnès, who was Laurent, who was starting this record label. She was his girlfriend, because he wasn't very confident with his English, which is rubbish. His English was brilliant, but her English was very, very good. So we were having this sort of 3-way conversation. So really like that song. We were about to put our first single out, which was the same as ours, like a 4-track, 7-inch EP by a band called The Chaplains, I think the first one. And Iris was the second one. And I think we just put a third or fourth little sort of 3 or 4 song demo tape out that we were just selling at gigs again and posting off to places that had the song Whit and Wendy on it. And we were in the process of writing, a dozen or so more, just because we rehearsed so much, we just kept writing so much. And so Whit and Wendy went on that first 7-inch, plus 3 others. So now you mention it. Sorry, I know this is really boring, I've gone off camera. which is this, the actual artifact. I think that was summer of '93 or spring of '93.
Yeah.
So they probably made the call to me some point in '92, late '92, and then by summer '93 they put that out.
God.
And they were based in Bordeaux.
Yeah. Did you tour there?
Loads.
Yeah.
And again, this isn't that I nearly caught a fish this big moment. We really did.
Yeah.
So, so that came out at the middle of '93. Then we did a 6-song mini album called Ups and Downs, which came out in the middle of '94. The first time we went on tour, I keep doing that far too much, don't I? We did 4 shows in the January of '94. We did Paris, Nantes, Tours, and Bordeaux. We were there for a week, and it was just the time of our lives.
To be in the darkened room, trying to unlearn the problems of the world. Could it be this strange? Anything can change. That the butterfly was some kind of worm, 1,000 thoughts collide. What if, wherefore, head at night? No bound sleep, it said. Beneficial, simplified, close your eyes, but feeling claustrophobic and strangulating the mind.
During your Irish stuff, did you write all the lyrics? You know, how did the music?
The only reason I paused, the short answer is yes, but actually, on those first 2 demos, because Bruce was still in the band at this point before he left and went. I think he might correct me if I'm wrong. I think he went to uni maybe '92, '93, just as the Alienor stuff was happening. Hence, that's him. He's playing guitar on Wit and Wendy, for example. On those first couple of demos, Bruce wrote end to end. You know, the chords, the melodies, the lyrics. For 2 of them, I think. One called Nobody and one called Unbearably Blue. Bruce wrote, but other than that. Yeah, I'm 99% sure I wrote all the lyrics, yeah. Yeah, I am.
Yeah. It take a lot of work?
Sometimes more than others.
Yeah.
Sometimes, not that they flow, I don't want to sound that sort of arsey, you know, but sometimes it just works and you go, I've got a flavour of what I want this to be about, and a couple of hours later you've got something you're really, really happy with. And sometimes you have the bare bones of it, and you have a part of it that you really, really love, and there's that one bit that you just go, I'll keep doing that because I've got nothing else, but I really don't like it, and sometimes it takes longer.
Yeah.
But I've never really, I mean I must have, but not many if I have. I've not really written many boy meets girl, girl meets boy, love, loss type. I don't know. There's too many of those songs, in my opinion. And it's only through revisiting a lot of this stuff we did in the '90s that I've looked back and listened back. So in the last couple of months, and go, actually, that's some really nice. I'm really quite proud of that. I'm really quite proud of those lyrics. They're really actually quite either poignant or clever, but not too clever. You know what I mean? Just quite smart, I think is the right word. Or wow, how did I manage to write a song about that subject matter?
I found a lot of Irish stuff quite emotional, really. I mean, I know there's been a couple that I'd actually bring a tear to my eye, which is quite a hard thing to do in my case. You know, so
I mean, as perverse as that sounds, that's a lovely thing to hear. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, but it had a certain emotional sound to it at times, and it was, you know.
I think I was going for that. I think because after during actually my obsession with U2, I became obsessed with another band called Galaxy 500, and this is sort of late 80s American band, 3-piece. By which point we were becoming a 3-piece. So I was like, their songs are just super simple, which worked for me because we were limited musicians at that time. We didn't.
But I found some,
and their songs are quite sort of that emotive.
Yeah, I found some of them quite dark as well. Really. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the lined up exhibition is quite lined up, isn't it? But
exhibitionist. He's incredibly light-hearted.
Compared
yes.
to some of the other ones. Compared to some of the other ones.
Yes.
Do you think it changed over that time? They got from a bit darker to lighter, or is it just you just took each song as a separate entity?
Yeah, each song was a separate entity. Absolutely. There's never been I've written 2 songs that are kind of about this. I can't write any more songs about that sort of thing anymore.
Mm.
More often than not, but not always, you get Pete takes the piss out of me all the time because I do something called he describes as vowel movements, where when you're coming up with like a vocal melody in the early stages of when you've got a couple of chords or you've got a riff or you've got a bit of something, you go, well, I like that little idea. And for me, it's always important to, as quickly as possible, to start to get an idea of what the vocals will be. Like, everyone works differently, but that's what I do. And obviously, more often than not, that's before any lyrics are there or a song title, or before you're just working on an idea. But I can't go ba ba da ba 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 ba. I'll go ra da ceiling roll away. There's no words there. It's just vowels. And by doing that, quite sometimes a suggestion of a few words, or sometimes a whole line or a whole phrase, and sometimes it's that. And then goes, right, now I know what I want to write this song about. It's
I did the same.
Yeah.
I'll just make any old shit up. And then we just eventually you'll come and say, well, that's better than I would have actually thought if I sat down to write. Yeah.
But then, having said that, sometimes I have literally sat down with a pen and paper and written out you would describe as a poem, and then later on, God, that'll work really well for that, and you change it round. There's no one way that I've done it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, changing different styles, different ways. Yeah. Gigs, France. So you did quite a few of them.
Not just France. The first time we went was just France. We did 4 in France, but I would probably say about 50% of the gigs we did was in France. But we went all over Spain and into Germany. Did a lot in Belgium, Switzerland, Italy. Because over that space of 3 to 4 years, so from 93, 94, 95, 96, 93, 94, 95, 97, 5 full years, we released quite a few things on Alienor, and pretty much every time we released something we'd either go over there for a couple of weeks or 4 weeks. I think the longest one we did was 7 or 8 weeks, which was probably about 40 shows. And even when we did, a couple of memories actually, of where you'd do say 6 or 7 gigs in a row and then you'd have a night off and you'd be looking forward to it, then you get towards the night off and you're going to go, well, all we're going to be doing now is spending the money we've earned for the last 7 nights. And on at least 2 occasions I remember we just rocked up at the bar somewhere and said, if you feed us and give us some booze, we'll just play. I'm not even making it up, I remember physically doing that a few times. So yeah, quite a lot. Probably over that sort of 4 or 5 year period, 10, 15 weeks a year on average.
How did the albums do?
Okay, for the time. I mean, you're only talking about...
Mind you, you were up against a different style of music, because there's a lot of the Nirvana stuff around, and there's a lot of that stuff around.
And
you were very different, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you were completely different to all that, weren't you?
At the same time, I think our gigs did, some nights would be 40 people in a nice cafe somewhere, and it'd just be beautiful. And some of my best memories of it are those sort of nights, and some nights there'd be a proper venue with like 600 people and posh hotels and all that sort of stuff. So it was a real juxtaposition of different types of shows or experiences you can get from being on the road. We bought a little transit van and we kitted it out and went everywhere. It lived in that pretty much. But I forgot what the question was. It's embarrassing.
You were up against different genres of
See,
music.
it was sort of the tail end of Nirvana, wasn't it? That sort of ended in '94, but obviously grunge and noisy stuff was very much still de rigueur. But 94, 95, 96, 97 was what the media would describe as the height of Britpop, which again, it never made any decisions to not be grunge or not be Britpop. But I think that did us favours in terms of touring in Europe, because they could. I'm not even lying. Most nights we'd turn up and it'd be an Iris poster and there'd be a picture of us or our logo, or whatever. Some nights we'd turn up and it'd just be British band. Sometimes, you know,
Yeah.
certainly in those first couple of tours before we
Yeah.
started getting on the radio and stuff.
Yeah.
Because it was that height of Britpop,
Yeah.
which didn't do us a disservice, shall we say? But the interest, you know, hindsight's a wonderful thing, and obviously I wouldn't have changed anything because I wouldn't be sitting here now if I had changed something properly, the whole butterfly effect and all of that. But we never listened to our songs until they were recorded. We'd never demoed anything. We never, you know, every recording of any Irish song ever done was the first and the one only ever recording that was ever done.
Yeah.
We'd just play together in the room and it would feel great and we'd be happy. But the first time we'd ever be able to, we'd ever subjectively or objectively
Take a step back.
and listen to it. When it was in the can, it was done.
Oh right. Yeah.
So it was never really a concerted effort to sound like something or not sound like something. Because of that. There was almost zero self-awareness really about what we were doing. And sometimes I guess that worked really well, and sometimes I'll listen back to even now to a couple of the songs and go, oh, really lovely, that bit's really lovely, that bit's really lovely. I wish we'd really had a think about
a bit more time.
A bit of a thought about that.
Yeah, but you can overdo it, can't you? You can spend months to do it on a song and spoil it, or you can, you know, and sometimes the song you think is the best one isn't the best one.
That's often the case.
Yeah.
Often the case because you're just too close to it.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of a cliche, but it is true. You can have your favourites and you can have the ones that you think are the special ones because whether you've got an emotional attachment to the lyric or the melody or something about it just connects with you, that doesn't mean everyone else is going to feel the same.
Yeah. Because there's a couple that you think that's really that's quite and No Means No is a bit of a one, isn't it?
That surprised me.
It's very different to
when I
everything
listened
else.
back to it. So obviously by late March this year, I'd listened to most of the stuff that Iris released formerly. There's still sorry to digress. I'll be true on that. No Means No question. As recently as the last week or two, one of my internet friends has found another set of demos that I'd completely forgotten about that were on some compilation from some fanzine somewhere, and I completely forgot about that song. I had no idea it even existed. And then oh yeah, kind of. In fact, there was one that I think you sent me. Maybe you didn't. And for quite a minute in, I'm going, I'm not actually sure this was us.
Yeah, it was.
And they got to the end, I'm like, yeah, it's coming flooding back now. So No Means No, so that's on Madiga. I think it'll probably be a bit of a Marmite song for a lot of people because at that time there was a story, like a news story that resonated with me about a lady that was being tried for murder in America because she'd killed the man that was trying to rape her. And essentially that's what that song's about. So it's a very dark subject matter, and there's moments of the song that do get quite dark musically in terms of the sound and the vibe. But crikey, when it starts, it's the most jolly, happy summer song in the. There's a lot of that song that is completely at odds with the subject matter, and I think I would never dream of doing something that wonderfully odd. Let's politely say that.
Yeah.
Because at the time, there was almost zero self-awareness about such things. It was just like, well, there's this musical bit we're working on, and oh, actually, I want to write about this. Therefore, that's that. We'll do it that way.
Yeah.
It was never really but maybe the vibe of the lyric doesn't match the style of the music. There was none of that. We didn't think about that sort of stuff.
How could anyone expect me to have known that a newfound friend would turn so hateful? My only crime is that I'm not psychic. I don't like this, no I don't, not one bit. I can't live my life being scared of people, thinking all benefit of mine's evil. For long I wouldn't step out of the front door. Then he would have won, yes he would not. I must admit I would not have this happen, but at least I thought about my life.
very different to what the early stuff is, really.
Yep. I mean,
was that a conscious decision to change?
No.
No, it just sort of worked its way along.
No, I guess if you're not, I'm not for a minute. There's a lot of brilliant. Some of the best songs in the world are on the theme of boy meets girl, girl meets boy. They split up, they get back together, whatever. Yeah, there's some beautiful, brilliant, amazing songs. Thousands, millions of songs. But if you're making a conscious decision not to go down that road, then I guess over time the things that are happening to you and the things that you see and you're experiencing, you've got to push the boundaries a little bit about what you're singing about. And when I say push the boundaries, they might get more mundane.
Yeah,
that's the boundary that's being pushed. They're becoming more kitchen sink and more sort of mundane, but there's a couple of songs. There's those two you've just mentioned that are on Madiga, but there's another one called Pocket Watch, and another one. I've got it here. Sorry, I'm just checking what's the name of it. Private Parts.
Oh yeah.
Which, again, I haven't listened to that record for 20 plus years, and then 3 months ago I'm listening to it again for the first time, and I go, blimey, I don't remember some of the lyrics being quite so on the nail and quite so brutally honest or dark
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I think other people noticed it and you didn't.
Yeah.
So it was going too fast. Because you were just writing.
Yeah.
Touring. You didn't notice things that other people had seen.
Almost certainly. I guess because also we weren't without successes, define what success means, but there was progression going on for us. We felt like we were moving forwards and all those cliches. Because we never exploded, we were never big, not a lot of people talking about us, so we didn't get that time really to reflect or hear a lot of what other people thought about us.
Yeah.
As much.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
So we were just very sort of insular in our own little world, just getting on with it.
Getting on with it. Yeah. And I find that people have a completely different idea of the person you are than what you actually do. Because I'm nothing like the stuff I do. Nothing at all.
No, I can vouch for that. That's for sure. I don't know. I think the nearest and dearest would say that I'm a bit of a show off that doesn't. I don't know. Likes to be in the centre of attention, but then there's other elements of me that I'm very much not like that. I don't know. People are complicated, aren't they?
Yeah, I used to love watching you play live. Yeah, it was because I always thought Simon and Wayne were really tight. Songs were great.
They worked really hard on that. They worked really hard.
Yeah. And then you were up front with the guitar, which always seemed your guitar always seemed slightly bigger than everybody else's in my eyes.
It's that one in the corner over there. Yeah. I bought that in 1991.
For how much?
It was £400 in 1991.
Yeah, so you've had it for 30 years now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had my money's worth.
So that's about £12 a year, isn't it? £1 a month.
Yeah, it's cheap when you think of it in those terms.
I just can't imagine being emotional. Heaven help the ones who let it climb on top and take control. When for other Romeo, you're such a know-it-all. Just when shit was getting better, romance came and pulled the plug. So, Iris came to a bit of an end. Yeah. Were you just run out of steam or just get fed up?
A bit. I don't think fed up. So we released Bad Hair Day late in 1997, which was the last album. And we kind of thought, okay, well, that's that done. We start writing, because up until that point, at least for 5 or 6 years, literally every song we wrote, no quality control, every song we wrote was released in some way, shape or form. So we started writing again, And almost at that same time, Eleanor Records had started another label called Platinum, which was very much a dance music label, and that really started to take off for them. And again, this is before emails or texts or WhatsApp, or certainly from my point of view. And I think wasn't Eleanor just sort of drifted a little bit. No, again, there was not one point or one moment or one that's it, we're not working together anymore.
Yeah.
We just sort of drifted
apart.
So that was probably about 98.
Yeah.
We were trying to get a bunch of money together to record again some of the songs we were writing, and we got a gig playing every Wednesday in a bar in Nottingham, but it was covers.
Yeah.
But it paid us £100 a week,
Yeah.
which to us was an absolute fortune. You know, you know, after 10 weeks of that, that's, you know, a week in the studio at the time.
Yeah.
But then that became quite all-encompassing because you have to learn, spend a lot of time learning songs. That probably went on for about 6 months, and now we're into sort of 1999, by which point Wayne was getting married, and he and his wife had decided that they needed to move to London.
Right.
So towards the tail end of 99, Wayne moved to London,
Yeah.
and there was never a really, I mean, me and Simon were really sad about that. And at the time it was like, you know, the rug's been pulled underneath, but not in terms of Wayne's done this to us.
Yeah.
I'm not even saying that because he'll see this. You know,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
generally didn't feel that. I was like, oh, what are we going to, that's fine, that's happened, what are we
Yeah.
going to do now?
Yeah.
And by which time Pete had been in quite a successful band called Cable, and they'd split up, and he'd started to come in and just give Iris a bit of advice and work with us a little bit in that last sort of, those dying moments. And I remember vividly, we're in the practice room and Wayne tells us that he's going to move to London soon. So we sort of stop the practice and go, okay, we need to think about what's going to happen next then. And me and Simon drive up to Pete's house and tell Pete this and say, oh, was there any chance you could step in on bass for a while, because he's a bass player by trade. And that's kind of how that, can you step in for a while, became 17 years.
Yeah, funny how things work, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, I tell you a lie, 17 years off the Hudson Super 6, and Pete and I are still in Electric Pets together now. So Pete and I have been working together now, weekly if not daily at times, for, Maths Boy, 26 years.
Gosh.
We've not killed each other yet. Probably been close to it a couple
Yeah,
of times.
everybody gets close to murdering or half kill somebody, don't they? Yeah, every band has its moment.
No, I imagine probably that's more him towards me than any
some
other
some days you walk out thinking, I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
And other days you go, wow, fantastic.
Yeah.
And then you didn't listen to any Irish stuff for years. Why? Why was that? Was it just because you parked it?
It's a very big question, and it's one I really want to try and answer honestly, because again, Annette and McKinney and all you other lot out there, if you're watching this, you're going to be crazy about the fact I keep referring to you as the internet people, but I don't really know who you are, do I? So forgive me. But you know, I've been asked that question by them, and I've tried to give them a quick response.
Yeah.
The reality, I think, is that because of what I described earlier, that the first time we ever really listened objectively to any one of our songs was when it was in the can. And more often than not, it'd be like, well, that's not quite how I expected it to be, or it doesn't feel like it feels when I play it, which has been my only experience of that song up until that point, you know. So there's an element of that, not every song, but quite often that'd be the case. It was almost an air of disappointment that it wasn't quite how you expected it to be. I think because we'd spent 10 years doing it, and then all of a sudden it's that sort of realisation that we're kind of just where we started, or it felt that way emotionally. Again, I can only say this in hindsight. I think maybe part of a coping mechanism is, well, we just weren't good enough. Yeah, write it off. Don't get angry and pissed off about it. Obviously we weren't very good. Otherwise, X, Y, and Z would have happened, or otherwise.
Yeah.
And that's the only way I can really describe it. But it wasn't like I wouldn't go as far as using words like I was ashamed of it or anything like that. It was just, I wish we did it. And it didn't. It was all right. We were young. it was those, you know, that's how I would
Yeah.
really truly feel about it.
Yeah.
And clearly, the interest. Well, I'll tell a lie. No, not tell a lie. I'll tell you, when it's his handle, so I can say this. Tom from Peru first contacted me,
Yeah.
and then other people started talking to me online. It's all Wit and Wendy, obviously, because it had just been discovered.
Yeah.
You know, solved. They call it. Sorry, solved. That's an interesting word, actually, solved. I was sort of thinking, yeah, it's all great. You know, they're really quite into the mystery of it. It's the thrill of the chase. It's the puzzle of who is this band that needs to be solved. It's not about I really like this band or I really like this song.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are lots of people that were part of that chase virus that do feel that way. That it's just that's solved.
Yeah.
Next. You know,
The
that's
detective in them.
perfectly fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely, that's perfectly fine. But it's clear to me that there's a lot of folk that are actually enjoying other songs of probably some more than others, you know,
Yeah.
and are going to enjoy Madigo when it's released tomorrow, and Bad Hair Day, and some of the early demos and rarities that will eventually release as well. But that was via that giving me so maybe there was something worthwhile there.
Yeah.
And I'm being honest, that was an
Yeah.
emotional reaction to that.
Yeah.
And I'll go and perhaps listen, if you can listen with fresh eyes, but you know, I'll listen to it with fresh ears. And
I don't think you're any different to anybody else, Phil. I mean, I don't listen to my stuff for years and years.
but I
afterwards.
think through listening to it again,
You're too busy working on the new stuff.
well, yeah, there is that.
Too busy working
You
on the
move
next
forward,
one.
don't you? And I don't mean,
Yeah, you
again, I
do.
don't mean to sound like some sort of reality show contestant, but you just move forward. It's a journey, and all those cheesy words. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's been wonderful, quite frankly, to as much fun as my 20s were,
Yeah.
and I have, done
Yeah.
some crazy, wonderful, horrible stuff,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
happened during that time. Time of my life, seen all over Europe, and just done some crazy, wonderful things. Like I said, it's almost like a chunk of that, or the output from that, the official output from that, I kind of written off, and it's been wonderful to be able to look back on it and go, actually, there was some. It wasn't a waste of time.
No. Well, it certainly wasn't a waste of time.
I'm exaggerating. I don't think I ever thought it was a waste of time, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's like, actually, there's actually some quality stuff there, and I'm really quite proud.
You should be proud of it. You should be proud of it.
And if nothing else comes of this, and if all my internet friends just start drifting off onto new mysteries they want to solve, and in 3 months' time, there's no new listeners and all that sort of stuff, then it will have been worth it, genuinely, just for that experience of going, actually, quite proud of that.
Yeah. It's wonderful.
Definitely.
Was it how he thought it would be? You can't blame it all on naivety. A world away from them. A laugh, a cry. You want to die.
Do you think Iris will ever play again?
I don't know. If you'd have asked me that in February, I'd have said, "What on earth are you talking about, you crazy bastard?" Yeah. If you'd have asked me, even in sort of April, I'd say, "Look, these guys out there in the world are really quite interested in Irish. We're just going to put some stuff out. Nothing's going to happen." And then in May, we did a little recording here where we did a live version of Wit and Wendy. I'm not being cagey. I don't know.
You don't know.
I genuinely don't know.
I'd like to see a play again. Yeah.
I
Even if
honestly
it was
don't
just,
know.
even if it's just a one-off, I'd just love to see a play again.
Don't know.
Yeah.
I really genuinely don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.